Hi, my name is Thomas and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be addressing some issues with my M3D Micro printer. I'm having trouble removing and reinstalling filament, and at this point the printer is so well jammed it won't print at all. I have changed filaments on several occasions. Usually I go from one color PLA to another. On the last occasion I was trying to go from PLA to ABS and the printer is jammed up pretty solid. In fact, it's impossible to either get the filament to go forward or to pull it out. So we're going to take apart the print head today, look in there and see if there's an easy fix to this or if we have to change nozzles or what exactly we have to do. Hopefully by the end of the day we'll have this solved. So the first thing we'll do is open up our M3D software and begin the process of removing filament. Once the software opens up, we'll click on 3D Ink up in the left hand corner, and when the window opens we'll hit the Remove Filament button. The machine will move the print head into position. This takes a little while, but you won't have to wait here thanks to the magic of editing. And now we're instructed to remove the print bed, exposing the filament compartment so that we can remove the filament spool. We'll remove the print bed by sliding it back, lifting it in the front slightly, and then pulling it forward. We can then reach in and grab a hold of the spool, and we'll pull that out. As you can see, everything's tight in here. The Micro is a very small printer, and everything about it's small. So working in this space is a little tight. But once the spool is out, we can go back to our software and hit the next button, and the software will instruct the nozzle to heat up so that the filament can be released. Again, this takes a little while, so we'll hurry things along a little here. Once the nozzle has heated up, the software attempts to prime the nozzle, and then it begins retracting the filament, instructing you to begin pulling on it. As you can see, I'm pulling on it and it does appear to be moving, but in reality it's not being pulled through the print head, it's just being pulled through the guide. In fact, some of the internal sleeve of the guide is actually being removed. So we're going to push that back in a little bit. And then I'm going to go back into the software. Where it's asking me if it's been released, and of course it has not. I think now's the time to go ahead and remove the cover and start taking a look into the print head. Maybe we can determine where it's hanging up. In order to pull this off, it seems to work best pulling it off the top. There's a couple of plastic clips up there, and they seem to be the longest ones, so they're the most pliable. So I'll pull off the top first, and then when that unclicks, then we'll pull the bottom. And it pretty much drops off. Now we've exposed the nozzle. And then there's a little cover here over the gears. We'll grab a Phillips screwdriver and pull that off. Again, everything's small and tight. And in retrospect, I think it would have been better to put the print head into the middle of the printer. It could have worked a little easier, but hindsight is 20/20. So we get that removed, and now you can clearly see the gears, the nozzle, the top of the nozzle, the sort of black sleeve going down into the nozzle. You may be able to discern that the filament is a little chewed up. I have tried to remove it on many occasions, and it hasn't cooperated, and I think it's a little worse for wear. We're going to wash it now just to kind of confirm that it is moving, and it's moving down into the nozzle, and then it is moving again as it retracts. So it seems to be moving freely in and out of the nozzle. I doubt that that's where it's hanging up. But at this point, because the nozzle is jammed up, In other words, nothing will extrude from it. I think we can go ahead and remove it and replace it with the new one. And once we've removed it, we may get a better idea of exactly what's going on with the filament and why it's jamming. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slide up this little rubber insulator. This is the heater is around the end of the nozzle there, and that little rubber insulator is around the heater. It just takes a very small socket. In fact, I don't even need the wrench here to remove the nozzle head. It's in there just sort of finger tight. So we'll unscrew that, and it's moving right down through the heater and through the insulator. Slides out pretty easily. It hangs up a little bit on the black rubber top there, but we can pull it through. Or screw it through. And now that that's free, we can take a look and we can see the filament as it comes down. It has been heated up so many times that the last couple of millimeters or a few millimeters are charred, and as well as, again, up higher than that, you can really see that it's pretty well chewed up. We're going to try it again now that the nozzle's off. It extrudes down, and it'll start to retract, and it'll come right back up. As you can kind of see right about as it's starting to enter the gears, it's getting wider. In other words, right there is where it's really chewed up, and now it'll kind of freeze itself up right about here. The gears can't turn anymore, and it won't move anymore. So we'll send it down a little bit and cut it off, hopefully below the where it's really chewed up. It comes right back through the gears, and now it's free. We can go ahead and pull it, and it pulls right out. Now we'll go ahead and get everything ready to install the new nozzle. We'll set the insulation in. We'll send the nozzle through that, and then line it up into the print head, or the print head. And we'll spin this most of the way in just with our fingers. We do want to leave a couple of threads at the bottom exposed, and I guess that's just a kind of way to get an idea of about, how far in to screw it. At this point, I'll go ahead and grab the socket again, screw it in a little bit tighter, and then we'll go ahead and position the heater and the insulation over the nozzle. Probably want the nozzle up just a little bit more. There we go. And then we'll push that down. So we have it just about into place. Now it's noticed that we don't have any filament, so we're going to install some filament. We'll put in the code for M3D's filament. Again, it'll move the print head into position. And I do have to say this, the reason behind having this in the front right hand corner as you're installing the filament is really beyond me. It's right where you're trying to do work. It seems like the back corner might be best, or the middle, or at least back a little bit, but as you can see, it's right over where your hand is as you try to feed the filament through. Also, as as it starts to extrude, it's going to extrude there as well. So if you are still pushing, waiting for the hot plastic to eject from the nozzle, your hand's right beneath it. At any rate, we'll feed this through, and we should start to see it come out. There we go, right to the gearing. We'll go back to the software and go ahead and get that moving. We'll tell it that basically everything's been removed and the filament is ready to be put in. It'll go ahead and heat the nozzle, and now it's going to go ahead and load the ink through, and it'll ask us to push it through. The gears take hold and it'll feed it right down into the nozzle from here. Now at this point we're waiting for it to feed it far enough through that it begins to extrude. And there it comes. So at this point we feel like the filament's been installed. It is running through the gears and down into the hot end, and it is extruding. So I think the nozzle replacement looks like it's been a success up to now. At this point we can go back to the software. It has exited the nozzle. Now we'll go ahead and insert the spool and put the print bed over the spool compartment. You want to be careful here, as you don't want to get the filament bound up at all. Those gears aren't particularly robust, I don't think, and so it'd be easy for any bind to go ahead and stop the flow of filament. So you want that to go in easily. And after that, just the reverse, slide the back end in, push down and slide forward, and you have your print bed in. We can hit next. It's got our filament loaded. It knows what it is. We can close that out. And now we just need to put the cover back over the gears, and we'll put the cover back over the whole the print head. The gear cover screw. The gear cover screw doesn't need to be particularly tight. You pretty much know when it's in there. It pretty much kind of bottoms out in there. Get that screwed in. We'll put the cover back on, reverse, so kind of the bottom first, and then we'll slide those top two clips in. Press it in, and that's it. So the nozzle's been replaced. At this point, the nozzle may be in a slightly different location than the old one was, so we want to recalibrate the bed. But we'll leave that for another video. For now, I'm pretty pleased to have the mechanical aspects of this project behind me, and at this point I'm hopeful that fine-tuning the bed position will go smoothly. I also hope that this video has been helpful, especially if you find yourself having to replace the nozzle on your M3D Micro. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section and I'll try to get answers for you. And if you'd like to follow my adventures in 3D printing, I encourage you to visit my blog at path23d.com. As always, thanks for visiting my channel, and please come back again soon.